The National Organization for People of Color Against Suicide, NOPCAS, was formed in 1998 by several families who lost children to suicide in the early 90s. In 1990, Donna Barnes lost her son Mark Jamal. In the same year, Les Franklin lost his son Shaka. In 1992, Doris Smith lost her son Mark. Propelled by their loss, they joined together to bring healing and to prevent other families from suffering the same loss and grief.
We're out of touch with our children sometimes. We think that we pay attention, but we're out of touch with them. And that's a hard thing to admit. And when I look back at it, I should have paid very close attention to some of the symptoms of sleeping a lot, for not doing well in school simply because he can't focus. When you're suffering from depression, that is one of the symptoms, that you can't focus.
The new president of SPAN, the organization that they started, is Doris Smith. It's my pleasure to introduce the new president of SPAN, Doris Smith.
Doris Smith of Atlanta, Georgia, a survivor of suicide. After having lost my only child, Mark Allen Smith, to suicide in 1992 at the age of 27 on October 4th.
I just wanted to bring some meaning, and I wanted to help other parents not experience what I've experienced, to walk into your house and find your child mortally wounded. I know many parents have experienced that, but I don't want any to experience it if I can help them. So I want to help them understand the signs, what to look for, what to avoid, and then beg them to not just treat their children as another part of the household, but to really reach out to their kids and really make themselves available to their children.
The mission of NOPCAS is to increase suicide awareness and education among minority populations. Recognizing the unique challenges affecting peoples of color, NOPCAS works with families and communities adversely affected by violence, depression, and suicide. NOPCAS provides prevention, intervention, and post-vention support services to decrease this life-threatening behavior. The Survivor Circle is a powerful example of NOPCAS's efforts to bring healing to people grieving the loss of loved ones to suicide.
Now, there's just some things that I wanted to say for those of you who are new to the group. This is Survivor Circle that has been organized by NOPCAS, the National Organization for People of Color Against Suicide. Now, some of you have been regular members and some of you are new, so you'll hear some things that I have said before, but we want to be sure and be honest so that we can learn from one another, because once you lose someone to suicide, there's a healing process that's complicated sometimes, and it helps if you hear other people's stories. So when you talk about what you've been through, be honest so that you could help other people.
My name is William Powell. I lost my son, whose name was also William. He was 24 years old 3 years ago this month to suicide.
My name is Quincy Gray. Part of why I'm here is because I thought about suicide for about 10 years, starting around age 12 or 13, up until I was about 22, 23.
He was always a happy-go-lucky person, always wanting to help other people with their problems. I think maybe a few months into his depression, he had started joking about committing suicide, but we never really took it serious.
Before we could put some actual plans in action, he took his life in his room. He hung himself on his bunk bed. His father and I found him.
I had a tendency to think I would feel guilty about doing it. I need to focus on him and focus on the pain, focus on this. Why did he do it? And sometimes you need to go there and cry it out and move on, but I was spending too much time on it. So I woke up and I thought to myself, it's time to move on in some capacities and take care of myself.
Since my brother's passing, I've kind of looked at the situation from the perspective of a parent, a sister, and as a teacher because I work with young children. And I really think that parents or people, anybody who's around children, need to look at their children from when they're young, especially boys and their fathers, because a lot of things I think start at a young age.
He would always compare himself with his sisters and said, look, and he was the youngest. But he felt because I think he was much taller than them, strong and everything. And he just felt that he was bigger than them and he should have accomplished more at 18 than his sister who was 24 and 26, 27.
So we ask that you will open the eyes and open the ears of the world up so that they can hear our tears and so that they can hear also the cries of those who have gone on that we love so much. We ask that you would just put things in place to help heal this terrible, terrible pain.
I hope it gets as
Are you crying?
NOPCAS leaders have appeared on national news programs, sharing information with audiences across the country.
Since the 50s, the teen suicide rate in America has tripled, and more than 80% of them are committed by boys. This morning, we're going to bring together 10 families from around the country to share information that could save your son's life.
What about the suggestion that every young boy who takes his life has to be suffering from clinical depression?
When you look at it, and I'm sure most of us, when we look at it now, we see some signs of depression. When I look at Mark's suicide, I realize now that he was sleeping a lot. He was away at school. He wasn't focusing on his studies. And these are sort of signs of behavior that you need to pay attention to.
But isn't
Through its annual conference, NOPCAS shares best practices in mental health services and the suicide prevention and treatment fields. Attendees learn from leaders in the fields of psychiatry, psychology, and social work, and develop awareness and skills to take back to their respective communities and organizations.
But anyway, when I was going through psychiatric training in the 60s, there were very few black psychiatrists and psychologists. When I trained at UCLA, like this is in Los Angeles in the 60s, I was there for 4 years in training, and during that time I had one black patient. And that shows you how, even in the city of Los Angeles, how the healthcare system so effectively, institutionally, mental health services were being denied to the Latino, to the Asian, and to the black community at UCLA.
Through partnerships with community organizations, academia, and the media, NOPCAS is bringing attention to the issues and helping prevent the needless loss of precious lives.